Hola, amigos. So Luke and I here are going to be discussing concussions, specifically the engineering side of them. We're going to be talking about the designs of different things, how they're designed to protect the athletes and prevent them from getting concussions. And then we're going to be talking about the future of concussions and how they hope to be stopped one day.
I'll be discussing the effects and concerns of concussions and how they have affected former NFL players in order to understand why the technology and design of helmets and equipment should be improved for the future. I will also discuss the design of the observation and treatment process of concussions and see how that should be altered or improved.
Time for some Coors Cold Hard Facts. Every year, about 3.8 million sports-related concussions occur.
47% of athletes do not self-report concussion symptoms.
Individuals 18 and under are the ones who suffer the majority of the sports-related brain injuries. Concussions happen in many sports, but the sport that has the most recurring concussions is football.
There's the pass. Oof. He's out, he's gone.
You always want to be careful.
In the 2013-2014 NFL season, there were about 152 concussions recorded. And since then, the doctors and NFL have been working together to try to get those numbers lowered. The game itself, helmets, and mouthpieces have all been starting to be altered because of the protection of the players. As some may say, the game of football is starting to become soft. And that's because the players aren't allowed to do those crushing blows or big hits that the fans want to see. But that's because for safety reasons. To prevent concussions and lower the number of them, the NFL has implemented some new rules. For example, there's no crowning or targeting the head, there are no hits to the head on the quarterbacks, defenseless receivers cannot be hit or touched, running backs can't lower their head to try to run over defenders, there are no crackback blocks allowed on special teams. And since these rules have been implemented, the numbers have dropped by about 14% for concussions since the 2013 season. Another reason why concussions have been decreasing is because the newer design of the helmets. The newest design is called the Rydell SpeedFlex, and it really took off in the college football world and now is worn by many professional players. Along with the helmets is the Insight Impact Response System. The helmet is designed to disperse the energy, which reduces the risk of trauma. The Insight is meant to alert coaches and trainers when a player suffers an intense hit to the head or multiple hits. The helmet itself has ways that it prevents concussions. It has parts that flex in order to reduce the impact force transfer to the player's head. The flex is in the face mask, shell of the helmet, and the attachment system. The helmet also has a ratchet-style chin strap attachment that can be adjusted every play to the player's comfort, and it will secure the head in place and comfortability. Therefore, the head will be safe and won't move around in the helmet on impact. A third change in the interior liner of the helmet, which conforms to the shape of the player's head, is to improve comfort and fit. This helmet is changing the game, but for good. The mouthguard is something that is also being changed in order to protect the athletes. Mouthguards are 100% proven to help prevent concussions. It is important that athletes have real and design mouthpieces rather than over-the-counter ones. The mouthpieces that football players in youth, high school, college, and professional use are now beginning to be specifically designed to prevent concussions. In designing them, 3 guarantees must be made. They must be direct dissipation and or absorption of force of an upward blow to the jaw, increased separation of the head of the condyle and glenoid fossa, and increased head stability by activating and strengthening neck muscles. If a mouthpiece can do all of this, a chance of a concussion percentage is going to go down. The plan moving forward with concussions is to hope to decrease them and the number of head injuries. to continue the newer and safer designs of the helmets, the game itself, the pads, and the mouthpieces. Nobody wants to see contact sports vanish for good. And working every day to try to keep the athletes of today safe and the athletes of the future safe. Will athletes continue to play contact sports at the risk of head injuries? Will parents still let their kids play contact sports? Will contact sports still exist?
To understand why the design of helmets and other accessories needs to constantly progress, one needs to first look at the effects and concerns involving concussions. Several tests have shown a substantial difference in short-term memory between athletes who have received 3 or more concussions compared to athletes who have not received a concussion. In the past, people have simply thought that a concussion was getting your bell rung, but research has shown that with every new brain injury, brain function significantly decreases. A simple concussion that could be endured during a football game could lead to lingering symptoms that last longer than the normal 1 to 6 weeks. These symptoms include headache, dizziness, difficulty concentrating or completing tasks, irritability, and the sense that you just don't feel like yourself. Although it is rare to have long-lasting effects from a concussion, several former NFL players are experiencing behavior that is indicative of a traumatic brain injury. With this knowledge on how concussions can affect the brain in short term and in long term, developers and researchers should even further focus themselves towards developing and improving helmets and equipment. Aside from the design of equipment, the design of the observation and treatment process of concussions should constantly evolve. In recent years, doctors and athletic trainers have been more diligent about spotting concussions on the field and taking players out and assessing them, but it's impossible to spot every concussion while it occurs. When a concussion is overlooked during a game, it is very important that the concussion be picked up very soon after. For the future, I think if trainers were able to have players do a short computer assessment the day after every single game, the worsening of concussions would be greatly reduced. I think a weekly test like this would greatly help, especially at the high school level. I'm not really sure why a test like this isn't already done. If a player's first or second concussion is dealt with properly, they will be less susceptible to brain injury later on. Talking about football, one may think that there could be limits on how much progress we could do towards safer play, but I think there are a couple things. First, helmets. I think helmets are going in the right direction with a helmet that can flex and give with the impact the player receives. I also think if the helmets do not greatly reduce the number of concussions, that the game itself will just have to change. Although the game has changed much already, more changes may need to be put in place. Although developers and researchers are doing all they can to help create helmets that reduce the risk of concussions, football is a game of risk. And despite all the advancements, there will be concussions in the future. And if players don't like that, then they simply don't play the game.